Hello ladies and gentlemen, Buki here with the Untitled Game Show, back once again with more video game news, reaction, and discussion. And let's talk about Xbox One and the future of backwards compatibility with the system. Is this going to be the feature that finally lets Xbox take dominance over Sony and make them be the dominant console in this generation going forward? Well, this feature, along with their additional great exclusive games coming out this fall and into 2016, have this power? Or will Sony be dominant through the rest of this console generation for the next few years? Well, for today, guys, we're going to be mainly looking at backwards compatibility and what does it have to offer to Xbox fans and fans that are actually who still have 360 and haven't been convinced to upgrade it yet. So first thing first, guys, I want to actually go over the list of supported games right now for Xbox One backwards compatibility in the preview program. So we're going to go over the 4-page list of games and then we're going to talk about it in detail. So these are the games you could currently play for the Xbox 360 on your Xbox One if you're in the Xbox One preview program. Let's go through them. A Kingdom of Cleflims, A World of Cleflims, Alien Hominid, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie. We also have Battle Rock Theater. We're going from there. We have Defense Grid, Geometry Wars Evolve, Hexed HD, Jetpack Refueled. We have Cameo, Mass Effect. Then we got Perfect Dark Zero, Super Meat Boy, Toy Soldiers Cold War, and Zuma. So those are the titles right there available right this moment for everybody to play on their Xbox Ones as Xbox 360 games. Some of you guys will say those are pretty nice games. Some of you guys won't. Oh, there's two more games I forgot. I'm sorry about that. Viva Pinata and Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise, which those are actually pretty cool games. Now, how does this service actually work and what does it actually bring to the table? Well, the first thing first, guys, it doesn't cost anything extra to actually have backwards compatibility for your Xbox One titles, either disc form or downloadable. It actually works with both. So if you have a downloadable games on your Xbox One, Xbox 360, and you want to transfer that over to your Xbox One, that will be available to you if that game is supported. Next up, achievements and game scores, everything like that, guys, all will transfer over. Even saves will transfer over to the Xbox One version of the game. You will actually also have additional features like to be able to use the DVR functionality of the Xbox One and the Windows 10 streaming abilities once it actually get implemented fully later this year. Multiplayer will work with your friends, so that's perfectly fine right there. Of course, you're gonna need Xbox One for that. So there's lots of features added to this program. So this emulated version of Xbox One game on Xbox 360 games on Xbox One will actually might be a little better for some gamers because you're going to be able to take a screenshot, record your gameplay directly on the system, which is really cool. Now, we have to look back and see if this really is going to be that big of a deal. And for some people, they're already considering Microsoft One because of this. But with the list of games that I talked about already in the preview program, I just don't think it's a big enough list to really matter. In those games, there was only about a few AAA games like Mass Effect, the Viva Pinata, and that was about it. The rest of the games were very much indie-related games, which are perfectly fine games to play. But many of those titles are very cheap on PC, maybe $1 to $2. Of course, if you didn't own it already, you perfectly can play on your Xbox 360. Now you can play on your Xbox One, which is fine. But there is a bigger issue that I think a lot of people forgot. Remember how the Xbox 360 did its backwards compatibility? It was very half-assed. A lot of games were not supported, and what you guys might not realize is that this might not always be a great process for developers. Developers have to agree to get their games in this program and re-release on Xbox One to work with this program. It's not like every single game that came out for the Xbox 360 will automatically go over and work on the Xbox One. This is not 100% you put in your disc and it works. This is only if the developer allows it. And as HD remakes have become a very big thing in the industry, it's just the truth of the matter that many developers will still want to do HD remakes of their big titles instead of actually allowing players to just play the regular version of the game on their Xbox One. And I think that's what's going to be happening with the bigger titles rather than seeing a lot of backwards compatibility support from this program through Microsoft. Now, of course, the indie titles, they're going to probably do pretty well with this because they don't see no reason not to do it. And especially if they're coming out with a new title, this could actually help promote their newer title if they let everybody go ahead and experience the old one and bring it over, bring over the save, like, oh, I just played the old game, let me play the new version of the next entry in the franchise. I think that's going to really work out for indie games and any downloadable games, small ones. Those titles are going to be easier to put over, but I don't see this working out for anything that you would consider getting an HD remastered. I don't expect many of the Street Fighter games to come over in this fashion. I just really don't see that Capcom is going to really go to Microsoft and say, hey, we're going to allow you guys to put our game, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter, Super Street Fighter, in this program and make it happen. Unfortunately, unless Microsoft does it where it's a console-wide support of every single game that was on the Xbox 360, I think this could almost have a same effect as the 360 backwards compatibility was. It was not 100% and it was not that great overall. Now, is some backwards compatibility better than none? Yes. Now, if you're that gamer that your games are listed on those list of games that are going to be available currently, or those hundreds of games that are going to be added this fall and into 2016, well, that's absolutely great. You're going to have a reason to keep your playing these games on the new system. But I think where Microsoft actually has an advantage here is the fact that they really don't go into details. A lot of people won't go to Microsoft's website and read the fine print like I've read the fine print, that developers really got to approve and agree with this. They have to be partnered with Microsoft to get this stuff to happen. And some people will pick up an Xbox One, get rid of their 360, thinking they could play an old title that they didn't want to play before. I'll give you a perfect, realistic example. My friend Jack was saying that he wants to get rid of his Xbox 360, basically because now he doesn't need it because he could play his Tales game on the Xbox One. But what I had to explain to him, that is not the truth. You cannot just play your Tales game on the Xbox One because it's just not simple right now. People who are not that deeply into video games don't realize it's not as simple as just plugging your game into the system and go. It's just not that simple to do, and not every game is going to be supported. So if he went out and bought the Xbox One tomorrow thinking he could play his old Tales games from the 360 on his Xbox One, he would have been kind of disappointed. And that's what I think Microsoft and I really have to have somewhere on their website to have a really upfront and personal, here are the supported games and here's what you could do. I think Sony did the same exact thing with the PlayStation Vita TV. They made people think that every game was going to be supported on the PlayStation Vita TV, when in fact many PlayStation Vita games were not in fact supported on the PlayStation Vita TV. Even some big titles like Uncharted, Golden Abyss was not supported. So Sony has done the same thing. It's all about marketing. People hear the big, amazing word, backwards compatibility, come into Xbox One. You play your 360 games on your Xbox One. The finer details that might be lost in the cheers and the happiness from gamers. Sometimes you guys look at the deeper picture to find out that yes, it sounds good on paper, but some things will be lacking. Now, will this feature expand in time? Yes, I think by the end of 2016, the backwards compatibility for the Xbox One and 360 together is going to be absolutely amazing. I think it's going to be so great that many of these gamers will be able to take their 360 games over to the Xbox One and use the DVR functionality, and it's definitely going to be a push and a plus for the system, especially in sales for people moving up from the old generations. But without them being able to convince publishers like the big ones, EA, Ubisoft, to publish their new games that they want to keep on remastering, especially Capcom with all their remasters, over to the system, a lot of those games are just going to keep on getting remastered and not going to get actually supported directly over to this platform for people to go ahead and play them again without having to rebuy the game. I think Microsoft did an absolutely awesome thing by doing this, but I wish they would have figured out a way to have this implemented from the very start of the system. I think it would have had bigger impact then, or a way that every game would work regardless of what the publishers of those games would want. And I know some gamers might be upset at me for saying that. So what? Does publishers don't have a say? Well, I think the console was Microsoft's, and if they had the ability to make an emulator that works perfectly fine on the Xbox One, or whichever way they're going to be able to do it hardware-wise, just make every game work with the Xbox 360 over to the Xbox One. Beaky here with my Untitled Game Show. Just my personal opinion with this. Yes, this is great for Microsoft. It's going to help sell systems, but the finer details is what a lot of gamers have missed out on, and I just wanted to clear that up and let you guys know that right now there's only 4 pages a game, and the games that you can play, they're not very big games. They're very much indie titles. Will those big games show up? I can't be really sure of that. I personally don't think many of them will, especially the ones that will get remastered. I was very surprised to see even Mass Effect there, but they haven't announced a Mass Effect remastered yet. And I don't think this is going to actually stop remasters from happening either ways, especially from companies like Capcom. My opinion, I'll be back with more E3 discussions very soon. Peace out, guys.